webinar on creating a website experience that converts. Really happy to have you this morning and really be talking about your site. This is a big topic for 2016 as conversation in inbound marketing centers around conversion rate optimization and kind of lead generation. I'm happy to be talking about your website today. So in this webinar, I'm going to be talking with Dan Slagan from Crayon, and I'll introduce himself.
Jeff, good to be here. As Jeff mentioned, I'm Dan Slagan from Crayon. For those that do not know Crayon, check it out at crayon.co. We have over 18 million designs for users to find their inspiration and insights when building their next big thing, whether it's a website rebuild or landing page test.
Principal Product Market Manager here at HubSpot, specifically working with our website add-on. And so I've helped build and grow a lot of websites and definitely helped a lot of customers with their own websites as well. So ready to talk about kind of the interaction between design and your website today. But we actually get to the topic at hand of kind of your website experience and how to think about testing it this year. About our changing relationship with websites to start off. 90s or early 2000s, when GeoCities was around, we kind of had these basic websites that definitely served a purpose and did well at the existing time, but these websites no longer work. And it's not necessarily because of or lack of information here, but it's a number of different reasons. Websites don't or websites lack the contextual experience that websites have. In fact, roughly 3/4 of consumers have stated frustrated when they visit a website and it lacks that relevance to what they click through to find. So if they're clicking through to find something about a topic they're interested in and the search results kind of read off that topic, maybe it's about fishing equipment or something like that, and they serve different content or there's different content around the screen, that can be a jarring experience and may prevent them from coming back to your site. Medium, all kind of big names in the space that we all probably recognize are all actually really great at this. I'll zoom in on Netflix and Amazon for a quick second. If you're a subscriber and you watch any TV shows, they personalize the next recommendations for you based on kind of your viewing habits and your interests, based on some advanced algorithms that they have kind of under the scenes. But this is their attempt to really make the experience of using Netflix relevant to you so that you hopefully watch more of Netflix and you continue to use it. Amazon, if you've purchased anything on Amazon, I'm sure you've seen recommendations on what your next purchase should be, or recommendations on what others have purchased that are similar to you as well. Content in today's day and age, and it's really, really important to serve up that kind of one-to-one experience versus a static experience throughout the entire life cycle. Partner, and this is an example of their homepage that if you're brand new to Linton and you visit their website for the very first time, this is what you'll see. Great homepage, and it's very specific to inbound marketing and learning about inbound marketing. Recognize that you're a HubSpot customer or you have the HubSpot software. They actually serve this version of the homepage, which it speaks specifically to using the HubSpot software and how they can actually help you with that and how they can get you that highest ROI. So this is how they're kind of tailoring that experience specifically to HubSpot customers and making that much more contextual. We do it ourselves. On the left, you can see a version of our State of Inbound landing page. And for anyone that lands on this landing page that is interested in this report, fill out this form and click download to get a copy of that report. On the right side, if we recognize you as a customer or we have your information, that form actually just goes away and kind of collapses, and you actually just see this Hi HubSpot Customer and the button to download the report. So you can skip that. We already have that information. We don't necessarily need to collect that, and you can actually just skip right to the piece that you want. One other way experience with websites is changing is through mobile. Back in 2007, when Apple introduced the first iPhone, we never anticipated having to design our websites for a mobile experience, or really that users interact with websites on mobile. It didn't even factor in. But today, mobile usage actually exceeds desktop usage, and if we're not designed for mobile, we're potentially missing 50% or more of that traffic that could be coming to our website.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Just to back on the mobile piece real quick, just this week, India announced that they now have 1 billion users just on mobile. So we're going to continue to see that trend only proliferate more and more as the future comes close.
Yeah, for anyone not designing for mobile today, they're certainly hurting their own marketing. I mean, Google announced back in, I think it was April of 2015, that they were going to penalize sites that didn't have mobile ready. So India and all these kind of up-and-coming countries, as well as the usage of mobile, really makes it a #1 marketing priority if your site is not already mobile ready. Same time frame, the early 2000s, waiting for a website to load was the normal. In fact, to a report I read from Akamai back in 1995, websites would take roughly, I think, seconds to load. But today, that takes more than 3 seconds. We consider extremely slow, and about 40% of your traffic may actually just leave your site and try to find the information somewhere else if it takes more than 3 seconds. It can also lead to decreased search rank, lower and fewer conversions as a result of that. I think we all have experienced this quite a few times. It's just really aggravating to wait for a site. If you're looking for something specific, if you have kind of a long tail search term, it can be aggravating to wait to find that answer if you have to wait for that page to load. Those are just a few of the ways that our experience with websites have changed, and the way we've actually accessed websites and experienced websites have changed. I'm going to hand it over to Dan now, actually, to talk about how we should test our websites based on those changes and how we can really optimize it for 2016 in our own marketing. Yep.
Great. So what I want to talk about today, there's going to be a few things, but I think what I first want to mention is that all the things that we're going to go through today, the nice part about it for you as a marketer at home is that it really only takes your time to what we're going to go through. There's 3 things that I want to go over in terms of your website experience. And again, you don't need new technologies or to spend a ton of money on these things. It's really just a matter of making a and focus and allocating the time. So the 3 things that I want to focus on today, first is purpose, the second experience, and the third is goals. And each of these chapters, as we go through, you can notice a little bit of a theme that I'm going to start out with a test. So start with number 1, purpose. So the purpose test really consists of one question. The question is the purpose of your website. Now, this is something that you may not have considered historically or have asked yourself because it seems like such an obvious question. However, a marketer at an e-commerce company of your website, odds are would tell me, hey, the purpose of the website is to sell items to our customers. That's why we exist. That keeps us in business. That's what keeps the light on. And this has been a completely fine answer to give a few years ago. But as I look at the market today, things changed, and so the question now has to be asked, are you times? Reason that people visit your website. There has to be a greater purpose. And we've seen this transition over the last couple of years with the inbound marketing, more consumers ignoring paid advertisements, aren't going to connect with your brand for the sole purpose of buying and selling. There just has to be more. As a HubSpot customer, I know that they've spoken at Inbound a number of times, is Johnny Cupcakes. And is a pretty e-commerce brand. Even though they sound like a cupcake store, they do in fact sell clothing. If you were to go to their website, you might have just seen t-shirts. You go to the website now, you might initially just see t-shirts for sale. But as you dig into the site, you'll see a little bit more than just selling. What they'll do is they'll implement into the website via their blog. So they have a fantastic video blog that lets customers into the founder of Johnny Cupcakes and let them really connect with the brand. Update the blog pretty consistently. It's high quality content, and it's a great way for folks to sort of see into the company a bit more. On the key side, they also update their page with all the different events that they're going to be at throughout the year. They have, I think last year had over 15 events across the country that they were going to be at. You can see each of those little squares is a different event, and if you click in, there's a landing page with informative content about the event, the time, the location, the reason for up, all that kind of good stuff. In addition to community outreach, they also have all the locations of their stores on their website, which does not sound like a big deal, but if you click in again, you see some pictures of the store, you get a little more information, and it's just a great way for users to, again, sort of connect with the brand instead of just selling. And then the highlight here is kind of a fun way, on their jobs page, and you list the positions, which is fine, but they go a little bit of a step further, sort of asking people to participate. You can see that link at the bottom, how to become a Johnny Cupcakes model. Just a fun way to sort of get people involved and, again, sort of get them excited about the community and the culture you're building. But if you kind of look back on this slide, you see all these you see, which really addresses culture, and then you still see selling. So while selling is certainly the reason that Johnny Cupcakes exists, they have to sell to keep the lights on. You can see that there's sort of two other angles that the company offers their users and the community to further expand their brand. If you were an e-commerce site historically, the number one reason that site would have existed would have been selling. That would have been the sole purpose of the site. That would have been kind of the sole focus if you were to visit the site. As you look at a company like Johnny Cupcakes, which is a leading e-commerce brand in 2016, yes, selling is still important, but you also see they add culture and they add community. So as you think about your site, just ask yourself, what is the purpose of our site? A few examples I want to give. First one is Vimeo. So Vimeo is a video hosting analytics company, and if you go to their site, you'd expect to see, price pages and all about their analytics and their software, and maybe some customers that they have. But if you even start to just scroll down on the homepage, you start to see more. An entire section of videos that are uploaded to their community. Users, they edit and they upload for folks to watch. They have sort of an on-demand Netflix-style library for purchase that have been made, again, by their community or by folks that inspire them. So of a company that is making really came up on video hosting analytics, but they really expanded their brand and grown their reach so much by in their community and by this on-demand video library. Is a company called Crew. So a marketplace for companies to find designers and developers and to have them for on-demand work instead of having to make full-time hires. Again, you would expect to maybe come to this website and see information about the marketplace or to see historical projects and customer testimonials. But they've added an entire section of their site called Crew Labs. Crew Labs, but here's two of the things I really like from Crew Labs. This one is called Unsplash, which I believe you are familiar with Unsplash.
Yeah, I've used it quite a bit. Unsplash is a great site for finding stock photography that doesn't appear stock really anywhere. We're all familiar with stock photos that you see across different sites or across the web that are just really common and are obviously stock photography. These photos on Unsplash are fantastic kind of natural photos that a lot are using, and it's a great kind of lead generation mechanism for crew.
It is, and it's interesting as you read articles written by the crew marketing team, they say Unsplash is sort of one of the ideas that really took the company to the next level just because it attracted so much attention. How much to make an app, which is also on their labs page. And this was for anyone that was interested in making an app that just wanted to know, just as how much does it cost. So this was sort of an interesting kind of step-by-step process you could go through and say what type of an app you were looking to make, what the experience was, the level of quality, the time you needed it turned around, and they would sort of spit back out a price for you, and then also help make introductions. So just two great examples from the team over at Crew about, again, kind of going beyond the initial purpose of your website and offering more. The next test, now that we've gone through the purpose test, this part I want to go over is experience. In the chapter, I'm going to go through called the experience test, and is understanding one thing. How personally, as a marketer or a business owner, experience every single page on your website. And really with that, because I think we all go to our homepage, we all go to our pricing page, but when's the last time you really went through every single page on your website yourself? And I think it's so important is sort of this communication. Since you don't experience something for yourself, things get lost in translation. And the best real example I can give for my own personal life is winter here in New England now. My friend gets cold very easily, and I always thought, she'd be warm. And she said, no, Dan, I wear these winter gloves, but when we actually saw the gloves she was wearing, they kind of looked more like these gardening gloves. So I sort of understood, okay, well, now I know why you're cold. We need to just get you the right gloves. It sort of took her for, and I didn't really look into it myself, and I didn't experience exactly what's going on. As I look through a ton of different websites, I have a collection entitled for maintenance pages because I find so many 404 pages that are broken that people are not even have fun with them and sort of crap books. But this is sort of a funny example. It does case that pages are broken across the web, and there just aren't enough people really paying attention to them. Is the experience test. As you go through each page of your website, there's really three things that I'd like you to pay attention to. And now, the first one is marketing, the tech, and the last part is design. But here with marketing, and I'm going to use the Mattermark. I'm a big fan of this company. I'm a big fan of their design. If a marketer going through your website, there's a few things that you want to just kind of take into mind. The first one is the funnel, right? When someone lands on this homepage, where from and where would you like them to go next? Are there certain pages that you'd like them to go after landing on the homepage? How are they going to get there? Second is the content and the copy of the site, right? Mark has a very concise headline, a sub-headline. You see across the page that overall they're using pretty concise content that is engaging. So at your own site, are you finding the same thing, or that some of your content is a little bit mundane or using too many words, and you can maybe cut down the amount of words that you're using? And the final thing that I always like to look for is the CTA. You can see multiple CTAs even here above the fold. It's important that you have multiple CTAs driving folks in the website past just your homepage. Things I, again, like to look at. There's certainly more that you can look at on your own. But the first one is load time, which I spoke to earlier. Not only is load time so frustrating for folks if it's slow, but it also really does impact your SEO. So you're cutting yourself double time if you have a high load time. The second piece I like to look at is functionality, which does the website function like it's supposed to? Do links work? Do those load? If you have type of an interactive tool, like an interactive pricing page, or HubSpot's marketing grader. Does this work? Does it work? Was it enjoyable? And the last part is mobile. See, Jeff spoke to the importance of mobile earlier. If 50% of your website traffic is mobile, use for mobile first, because that percentage is only going to continue to grow. And again, similar to load time, there's a bad experience, and you're going to be dinged from Google from an SEO perspective.
And it's important to test across all of these things for that, but I'll just hone in on mobile just for 1 second here and say, looking at your website, make sure that you kind of look at your analytics and see what devices visitors are using, and ensure that you kind of test your website for not only each of those devices, but others as well. So if a lot of your traffic is coming from mobile devices, but specifically iPhones, make sure that you don't necessarily have a flash video on your homepage or the specific page that folks are visiting, since flash doesn't necessarily work well on Apple devices. So kind of consider those aspects as well when you're looking at mobile and kind of this tech side of things.
4 is, of course, on the design side. 3 things that, again, I just like to take a look at. The first is the visual layout. It makes sense. Is everything aligned? Are too or compact? Is usability? Is easy to use? If you want someone to come to your homepage, find the pricing page, and then convert, is that clear to them? Is it easy? If you show your website to your parents or a complete stranger, hey, experience the site. Why people use the site for the first time? It's interesting to note. And the last piece is typography. Just thinking about kind of the different logos and fonts and font sizes that you're using. Does everything look professional? Does everything look neat? Or you have areas of your website where you can sort of, to look a little bit more professional. Just things to keep in mind. Get to take a look around from time to time. I'll go into an example now, but it's something that I think often focused on ourselves, and we don't want to worry about the competitors, but don't just look around once a week, once a month, once a quarter. You might miss things that are pretty interesting. And here's an example from Wells Fargo. This is a process that they have to drive lead gen. And I look at this, a few things pop out. Right? There's a set process with minimal visuals. It's very content heavy. It does kind of have an outdated feel to it, and you can tell it's really designed for the company. I'm the marketing manager at Wells Fargo. I think things are okay, but if I go out and see maybe some of the other startups around my space also trying to drive, financial lead generation, here's what we call DealStruck, and look at these guys. One process, very appealing image. The content is it's concise, it's compelling, it has a modern feel. And this site is certainly designed for the customer with really a one-step conversion process. Now, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of Wells Fargo. May not be able to do the one step, but it's just interesting that they can look at their competition and say, guys, here's who we're going up against, here's what they're doing. Is opportunities for us to compete and be a little bit more aggressive. Now that we've gone through purpose and experience, the last part is goals. Similar to the last 2 chapters, I have a goals test. Of you really understanding what is the goal of each page on your website. For instance, there's a good chance that you do have certain that have goals, such as your home page, such as your landing page or your pricing page. Site that you have not assigned goals to, like your page or a products page or a teams or a jobs page. And as you think about it, these 9 different pages that I have listed here, and I've broken them out into 3 different categories. So think numbers 1 through 4. These pages all do a great job at explaining your company, your about page, your plans page, your services, and your product page. Really tells people once they click past your home page, all right, what this company does, here's what it represents, and this is the great for them to really learn about your company. You know, these all establish credibility. So if you're a startup or you're not a company that's always in the press, it's just nice for new users to see that the industry is talking about you guys, your customers are happy, that you're able to show success. Right. Hardest things right now is attracting top talent. And it's interesting that most companies just sort of have a team page and a very mundane jobs page. Be thinking about ways to increase your conversion rate on your jobs page to attract the best talent. A question here before I get to my next point, because I'm going to propose is that folks build a website editorial testing calendar, which I know you guys have talked about for years over on the blogging side.
Yeah, our content team here at HubSpot has a calendar and very much like this template that we provide. Actually, I'm going to jump back to your previous slide for just a second. For these kind of deeper level pages that you dive into from the homepage or from kind of the main navigation of your website, we have goals as well. Typically, like our products pages, we measure by conversion rates. We measure kind of the lead flow through those, whether it's qualified leads or sales qualified leads. We kind of track those qualified leads through each of those pages of our website. So we try to look at how the website is contributing to the bottom line and beyond just the homepage.
That's great. Calendar on the blogging side, what I would propose is for you to set up a similar calendar but specific to your website. And as you can see here, I have different page types on the left, and across the going across the top, I have a section for goals, for goals, and the testing plan throughout each of the quarters for the rest of the year. Again, and sort of put in some mock examples. For your homepage, you might have a bounce rate goal. For your landing page, a conversion goal, pricing page conversion goal. But some of the other pages, you might just want to add customers to your testimonial page this year. Or this page, you have a conversion rate. Or your price page, you want to add a couple logos. So now, as you get into some of your testing, so for instance, on your pricing page, Q1, you would consider a discount pricing CTA. Testimonials page, just agree that you're going to reach out to 2 customers in February. Page, you could add an employee video. Just a couple of different examples. But what publishing this calendar really does is it makes you commit to your website, and it makes you commit to every page, and really ask him why these pages, what's the point, and how can we really make them better. So it's just a way of really holding yourself and your team accountable. Which I do, have a goal for every single page on your website, and if you don't have a goal, assign one or consider getting rid of the page. What I have for everyone today, I'll go through real quick, kind of my final takeaways. First, thinking about your website experience and your testing plan. First, think about purpose. Really define the purpose of your website for this year and adhere to that principle as forward in testing and design pages. On the side, it's so important to continually experience your own website, not just once a year, but once a month, once a week, as often as you can as things change, and on both devices, multiple devices, not just desktop, but tablet, mobile as well. And then finally, goals. Robot's all about goals. We're all about goals. The easy way to measure yourself as a marketer is to establish a goal. So when it comes to your website, make it easy on yourself.
And I think this framework is a great framework to really level up your website experience this year. So that said, we'll open up the webinar for questions. For anyone that may want to reach Ann or myself for questions after the webinar, here contact information, and here's how you can reach us. We're happy to take a look at your website or provide feedback based on kind of our own experience. So to reach out to us.